Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Hey Lacey, it's me. I think it's time we have that talk. Eventually you'll get to a place where you aren't happy with yourself. You will look in the mirror and have to make a choice. Hard work, early mornings, mental discipline. It's going to be tough. You're going to struggle. You'll have high days and you'll have low days. It's about making the choice to start. It's about showing up day after day, year after year. It's about putting in no matter how difficult it gets, because that's what gets results. There is one lesson you will need to learn. It is that everything has a price. If you don't pay the price needed for success, you will pay the price of failure. What will you choose?
Hey guys, in today's video we're going to break down this fitness commercial that we recently wrapped up, and we're going to have a look at everything that went into producing a film like this. So first things first, how did we even get this project? A friend of mine, Lacey, reached out and told me about her fitness coaching business and how she was working on building an online course and needed some content to be able to market that course. On a side note though, go give Lacey a follow. She's an incredible Muay Thai fighter and is super dedicated to her craft. She also has a podcast called Awaken Your Shine. You should go listen to it. Links down below. That's how we got the project, but let's have a look at the pre-production phase. I know there's many different ways that you can go about pre-production, but I'll run you through what I did for this project. When Lacey told her about her needs and objectives for this campaign, we discussed different creative ideas of what we wanted the film to look like. We bounced back and forwards, lots of different ideas, and ended up deciding on something that drew a lot of inspiration from the very talented director, Morgan Cooper. We wanted it to be short in length, fast, action-packed, high octane, but also a film that told her own personal story. The name of the film that we ended up deciding on was Choices, as this was a core theme and concept of Lacey's own personal journey. One of the best ways to tell a story is not only through compelling visuals, but also by incorporating some form of dialogue, which motivated the voiceover that we ended up using. With the style and story of the film being set, I typed out a rough outline of what I wanted the film to look like visually. This wasn't anything fancy, but it was just a process that I used to flesh out some ideas and get them down on paper. Well, on notes. Once I got this rough outline done, that's when I went in and shot listed everything from start to finish. This really helps on production day, keep everything on track of what we have and what we haven't done. I then gave a brief description of what will be happening in that shot, what focal length I envision using, how the camera will be moving, and what location the shot will actually be in. Look, and I'll have to admit, it's probably not the most efficient way of doing things, and it probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but it works for me and helps me keep track of what needs to be shot and where it needs to happen. Once I finished this, I then attached some reference frames to a few of the shots just to keep the style and lighting in mind, and was something that I could easily access on production day. Following the shot listing process, I then came up with the script. This took quite some time to create, but I was really happy with the end result. The video was a story of Lacey having a conversation within herself. It was depicting the choices she would have to make and the internal battle that she would face if she wanted to achieve her goals. All right, locations. We ended up having 3 different locations that we shot at. The first was Lacey's apartment. This is where we shot the interiors of her waking up and getting ready. And the next was the gym. After a little bit of location scouting, we came across Cooperoo Boxing Gym. It fit the vibe and the style of the film perfectly, as it was a little bit old and run down. The owner agreed to let us shoot and was kind enough to let us use the whole space for a few hours. The last location was for the running shots, and this was done at the boardwalks in Hamilton. We wanted to reflect that cold, early morning, overcast vibe, really communicating to the audience the hard work that Lacey had to put in to achieve her goals. And on the day, we were actually lucky enough to get an overcast sky. So it turned out really well. Now that the creative aspect was finished, I needed to hire on some crew members to help put this all together. We didn't have the biggest budget for this project, so we couldn't go and hire a big 20-man crew, but this is what I had. We had Seth Labrise, who you might have seen in some of our other videos, as our gaffer and camera assistant. Seth was in charge of lighting, camera setups, focus pulling. He did excellent job. We then had Jake Holroyd as our sound guy. He did a fantastic job and was super easy to work with. And then the final crew position was behind the scenes, where we had Josh Ellie. He documented the day and helped out on set wherever possible. And something that I've come to realize over the past few years is having a dedicated BTS guy is an absolute must for any content creators out there wanting to market themselves. Behind the scenes content is super valuable when it comes to marketing and advertising your services. So that was our crew. Let's briefly talk about the gear we used. Right from the get-go, I knew that I wanted to shoot this thing anamorphic. I did some research and decided to go with the Atlas Orion anamorphic B-set lenses. I approached a camera hire shop down in Sydney. They're actually called Camera Hire, and they were super helpful in getting the order together and getting the lenses up here in time for the shoot. This was my first time using some good cinema glass. I was just amazed by the results. The anamorphic bokeh, the blue lens flares, and the vintage look were an absolute dream to use. We paired these lenses with the Blackmagic Pocket 6K, wrapped it all up in a tilter cage, and used a Tilter Nucleus M as our follow focus. We also had a Polar Pro matte box for neutral density. As far as lighting goes, we used a very simple setup. The majority of it was done using Titan tubes, all the indoor gym shots. These were super fun, and they even doubled as practicals, as they could act as regular overhead lighting fixtures. To decrease the contrast levels a little bit, we got out the trusty haze machine, blasted it everywhere, and it really made the lights bloom out a little bit more and help give more of that cinematic feel that we were going for. As far as stabilization goes, believe it or not, everything was shot handheld. When you're using super heavy cinema rigs, handheld is quite doable, as the weight of the camera removes any micro jitters that you would normally get with a smaller setup, a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. For this running shot, it was on a gimbal. We used the RS2, and it just made things look a little bit smoother. So moving on to post-production, as everything was already thoroughly planned and laid out from doing a really good pre-production, editing was fairly straightforward. The biggest part in this project when it came to editing was the sound design. For this film, I hired a composer, Leon Tavis, who lives all the way over in the States, to create the soundtrack to this film. We wanted something that built intensity over time and had some good beats that we could cut on, and he just absolutely smashed it out of the park. With the score complete, I then went through and laid the different sounds, hits, whooshes, and atmospheres to bring this film to life. I love using the sound effects pack from Lens Distortions. They have so many variations of sound, and they make it really easy to mix it all together. I would highly recommend buying their pack. I then overlaid the voiceover that we recorded during production and put that at particular intervals in the film that really brought it all to life. And that pretty much wrapped everything up. As always, we created a variety of deliverables for the client so that they could use at their disposal. Overall, they were super happy with the end product. I'd love to know what your thoughts are with how we did this. Maybe even some things that we could have done better. We really want to grow and improve ourselves. So please comment down below the things that you liked, the things that we could have changed to make this film a little bit better. Feel free to share it with a friend as well. It really means a lot. Until next time.